Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
It sometimes takes a second for it to show up. I think.
Mine says live.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone. So, thank you so much for coming. Celebrating the release of Collecting Dust. I'm here with 3 of the authors from Collecting Dust, and more should be coming. Oh, here's Haas Faruzi here. I'll add her in. Hi. And if everyone could comment in the chat if you're watching, where you're tuning in from, that would be awesome. So I guess we can just start with introductions. I'm Hudson. I edited Collecting Dust. I also have 2 short stories in here. I for my other books outside of Collecting Dust, I actually have them with me. Not the Air is a young adult fantasy. Academy for the Gifted is a young adult thriller. And I'm currently working on a historical thriller. It takes place in Versailles in 1670. It's a murder mystery. And if we later in the stream, if we talk more about what we're working on now, we can do that also. But and I go by she, her pronouns. So yeah, that's me. Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yeah. My name is Lauren. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I'm currently working on a fantasy novel right now that centers around a character with a disability, and I wrote a poem in Collecting Dust.
Okay. I'll go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Danny. I have used she, her pronouns. I'm currently working on a historical fiction, enemies to lovers, pirate treasure hunt novel set in turn of the century Galveston. And I wrote a poem in Collecting Dust.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, I'm Hasfariza, and I'm from Malaysia. My pronouns are she and her. I'm currently working on this fantasy book about Malaysian characters that figure out that the assassin world is not what it seems. And I wrote a poem in the Collecting Dust anthology.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I also have a poem in the anthology, and I use she, her pronouns. Right now, I am working on a novel that's kind of a funky hybrid between horror and comedy, kind of like flip-flops. But yeah.
Wow, love that.
We have New York, Waterloo, Canada, New Jersey.
Zachary. I follow Zachary.
Oh my God, Canada. Oh my gosh. Ohio, Missouri, Toronto. Thank you guys so much for coming. So, I hear an echo. I'm not sure if that's me, but okay.
I don't hear anything.
I don't think that's it.
MC! Hello. So we're thinking we could start by talking about our pieces in Collecting Dust and what inspired them. But before that, I kind of just wanted to talk just a little bit about the process of creating Collecting Dust, because it was very different from any of my other writing endeavors, because it was such a collaborative process. Obviously there were 17 different authors, and so the process of that and what it looked like was really interesting, because it started with I had a bunch of short fiction and poetry that I was kind of wanted to put together in a collection. Oh wait, here, let me add Sophia in. Hello.
Hi.
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 I was just talking about the process of the anthology, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm Sophia, Sophia Lind. I wrote Getaway in the anthology. I'm 17 now. I'm a senior in high school now. I yes, that's all I really have to say. Should I go and say?
I kind of put you on the spot, but like, okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, so about like constructing the anthology. So I had this idea in like, I think it was last summer, so like a little over a year ago, and I like wanted to like make a collection. At first, I was thinking of just like my own work, but then I was thinking about how cool it would be to have like short fiction poetry from authors around the world, and like it's amazing that we have like an author from like Malaysia, from like it's so cool, from different areas of the world, and I think like that has really um, made collecting dust very like poignant and have so many different voices. And so, but yeah, so it started with, oh wait, let me add, sorry. Oh, the studio is limited to 6 people. Okay, I'll, in a little bit, I'll swap some out. But, okay. But so then after that, I kind of solicited submissions and then on Instagram, and I was really delighted to see everyone send things in. And then I went through those, and then I kind of like put them. So I was going back and forth about like how to structure the anthology, but then I ended up doing it in like, I don't know if you can like see this, but there's like morning, twilight, and night sections, and Enchanted Ink Publishing did the formatting. They've done the formatting for all my books, but I love like the theme divider, if that's what you call them. Like section break pages, because they just look so cool. And so I ended up structuring them in that way and like kind of putting the pieces into an order that kind of like tells its own story arc in a way. And so, yeah. So does someone want to like, I know it's kind of, it could be like uncomfortable to talk about, so if you totally don't need to. But if you want to talk about like your work of collecting dust and like what inspired it, sorry.
I'm okay to talk if you want me to talk. I was kind of inspired. Mine is called Change, and for me, I kind of wrote this poem after a time where it was like a great change in my life, and I kind of found it interesting that change is both essential, but it's also very dreaded. And I wanted to write about how that change kind of made my life vibrant, but I also wanted to write about how it just made everything really overwhelming. And I wanted to capture both sides of change and how you get really like big relief, and then you have just terrible anxiety at the next moment, and how it's kind of shapes us in those experiences, and whether it be positive and negative, and how sometimes you just have to focus on the present.
Yeah. Changing. Oh, what is that?
I guess I could talk about mine. So my poem's called Laundry, and it is like kind of your classic like written at 4 a.m. when you like think of something kind of piece of writing. I think I wrote it like in 15 minutes and then edited it like the next morning when I was like, whoa, what the heck is this? But it's kind of like I tried to encompass like what it's like to be like a woman kind of feeling at risk in a moment at night, but then also to kind of capture how that's like a piece of being female, but not like the whole experience. So it can like feel strong, but then it also kind of lets go a little bit over time. That's my piece.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love it. Also, by the way, everyone who's watching, feel free to just like ask questions in the chat at any point, and like when there's like a break, we'll pull them up on screen and talk about them. So that would be great also. Okay, sorry, someone else. I guess sorry.
No, you're good. I just like, I can go next. So this was kind of part of like a series of stuff that I did. So I was picking like different elements of nature and kind of personifying them and letting them take on kind of a life of their own as I thought about what they were literally and then what they could like be metaphorically. So the sun, I thought about like, different sun it has to do with more like with sunrises than sunsets. And I just had this image of like a sunset over this like field, but also that being like a metaphor for like for growth and rebirth and a kind of freedom, like a new dawn sort of situation. So I used a lot of that imagery and the writing in that style to sort of convey that image.
Yeah, and I think it was like it was great to start off the collection. It's like the first poem, and well, not start off, because so Laundry. If you haven't read the collection,
Laundry is so good.
Laundry is like the first piece before the sections kind of start, and then it goes into Morning, which starts with Danny's poem Rays of Old, which I think works really well because Laundry, like Sophie said, like she described it as this like 4 a.m. writing experience, and so then it kind of starts with this like chaotic energy and like and this kind of starts off with the bang with like this touching very heavy poem, and then it goes into I think of Danny's poem kind of as like a healing poem because it's about the sun kind of like healing you, and so I think I thought that was a cool way to follow up Laundry, and start like the morning section of the collection because it kind of has like a hopeful note to it, which I think is kind of like sustained through like the morning section before it kind of the tone like shifts in the next sections. But yeah.
Okay, I can talk about mine next. So I wrote Getaway, which I still have trouble kind of putting it into simple words because it kind of is such a big idea in my mind, at least. The original plot, kind of away from the main theme of kind of the mental struggles that she went through, came to me in a dream, which is kind of random, but I had a random dream that was very vivid of specifically when I talked about like the green twisting hallways. It was such a vivid image in my mind, so I just really wanted to kind of include that part. But basically the purpose of why I really wanted to write it and kind of ran with the idea I had was to kind of show that our mental health doesn't really change with location, I guess. Since she moved from Texas to New York, she kind of thought that, oh, I'd get away from all my problems because all my problems are back in Texas with my mom and kind of the loneliness that was there. And then when she moved to New York, she was like, I'll start fresh, I'll be fine, everything will be fine. And then everything just kind of dropped and all just went downhill because she just, I guess, couldn't get away from her own mind and her own struggles that she had to face straight on instead of just running away from.
Yeah, that piece, like the ending, I was like, I had the chills. I was like, it's so amazing, guys. Like, but yeah, and I'm trying to remember where it is in the collection. I think, oh yeah, it's the end of Twilight. Yeah, because I think, like Sophia was saying, like the ending, the resolution is like the main character is kind of trapped, I would say, like in her own like mental issues, and so like it kind of has like hopeful notes, which is what makes it even more like kind of tragic at the end when like she's kind of just doomed, and I think that's what like made it a good segue into like the night section. So it's like the last in the Twilight section right before the night, where it kind of just goes into like the, I guess, darkness. But yeah. Hospiriza, do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, I do. So I wrote The End of Us, and it was actually kind of inspired by my experience sometime last year while I was waiting for my mom to pick me up from college. I saw someone that I wasn't really close to before in school, but all these memories of them came rushing back to me. It made me like really wonder why I always remember all these memories. It made me want to write a poem immediately. While I was writing it, I wondered whether someone else would remember these memories too. And that made me want to write the poem in a dual narrative with two personas that had differing perspectives of their memories together. And I think, like in life, people come and go, and not everyone is meant for every chapter of our lives. And if we're lucky, some people will be brought forward to the next chapters. And this poem was like the first poem that I ever incorporated Malay words in. So it's like really momentous for me. And I think maybe it was inspired by the fact that in college I learned Gillian Clark's poems last year, and she really incorporates her Welsh culture in her poems, even though they're mostly in English, but she puts in her Welsh culture and words in there. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I love how you like played with form and kind of like the usernames to like head off each when it like switches perspectives, and how yeah, and I loved how you incorporated like the authentic phrases. I think that also contributed to how like poignant each voice was, and how like what I think the beauty of the collection is that like all the different voices, but that kind of um yeah, come together. Um yeah, I love that piece.
You see how like each line, like there's like careful thoughts and how like each of them complement each other.
Yeah, it's so good. Um I think I can talk about mine, and then we got some questions in the chat that we can pull up. Um so I have two pieces in here. The first one is called Crestfallen, um, which I wrote a while back. It's about this girl who goes on the subway this one day, and she has like this very complicated relationship with her mother, and so it's kind of like a little act of rebellion, and because she's not really allowed to, and then she goes on the subway and like meets this boy here, and um, then the next day she goes on and she sees the same exact person, and she thinks it's like some weird like sort of thing, and then they start talking, and then they like spend this day together and form this sort of like relationship, um and then but then the next day she's kind of like betrayed. It's hard to explain without it kind of seeming, I feel like with I would characterize like the short stories that I put in here as more like literary fiction. So like I feel like sometimes with literary fiction, when you just explain them by like the plot, it can like not really like encompass all of it. But yeah, so that's that one. And then the other one is called Ellipsis, which I actually initially wrote for an English project. And I ended up, after the English project, going back to it and realizing that I really liked the story, and so I continued with it and made it longer and like worked more on the background revisions. And that one is about, so it was, the English assignment was to take like a piece that we read this year and talked about, and then write like some creative piece based on it. And so the poem, I'm forgetting what it's called, but it's about this, it's like a pretty famous poem about, and if I remember it, I'll let you know later, but it's about this like kid who's talking about how his parents kind of like messed him up, and how it kind of like you get messed up by your parents and then you mess up your kids, and that's just like how it works. And so that's kind of the idea that I talked about in Ellipsis. It's about this kid, this son who his father just died, and now he's like an adult, but he goes back to his childhood and the things that his father did, that kind of like sculpted him and like made him the way he was. And then it ends with he now has a daughter, and he like kind of carries on a part of his father to her, but in like a way that he kind of notices and like instantly regrets. But yeah, so that's that one. Which he's not here, but there's another writer who had a piece also about like fatherhood, which I think like those coupled really nicely. But yeah, also I see the 3 other authors in the waiting room, but so I was thinking maybe we can like swap them out after we play the Never Have I Ever. Maybe we could do that game. Do you guys want to do that game?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said you wanted to answer some questions, so do you want to do that and then the game?
Yeah,
Maybe?
yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so, and if I'm just going in chronological order, but if I miss any, then you guys can let me know. Okay. First question: did you find the pieces fell naturally into an order that supported the overarching themes, or did it require more editing and restructuring to maintain a flow throughout? Thanks, Erin, for coming and asking this question. So I guess this is more of like an editing question, so I can answer it. So I think it did like require a lot of editing because and like restructuring. Well, first of all, like each piece I was like back and forth with each author doing edits on the individual pieces. But then in terms of like the order of the pieces and the structure of them, I would say I kind of experimented with a couple different things, and I like put them in a certain order, read it through, saw how like the last line of one poem segued into like the first line of the next short story, and if that felt natural or if it felt too natural or if I wanted it to feel like different. And so I kind of like put it in a certain order. Well, first I like decided that I was going to do the morning, twilight, night thing. And so then after I was like doing the edits for each piece, I was like, okay, this would fit really well in morning. This would fit really well in night. And so I started out by doing that. But then once they were like had their section, like I said, I was kind of like seeing what flowed and like what kind of spoke to different, like the one before it and what like builded on it. Like if I just look at the table of contents, there's so like A Romance Bottled in Memory is the 4th piece, and it's about like a like childhood kind of, not like fairy tale, but a fairy tale like optimistic childhood story. And then that one like goes right into Road to Rhonda, which is like it's the one that I was talking about before about like fatherhood. And so it's like that one's more of like a not exactly natural, but like one that I felt kind of followed that up well because it was like about childhood. And then and then like I ended morning with Leaving Words on the Street, which is like a poem about writing in general, I guess, and how like why we write. It's a really beautiful poem by I don't think she's here, but oh yeah, she is. Hi, Solon. But yeah, so that one, and then yeah, I won't go into like each piece itself, but yeah, I would say it definitely required a lot of like thinking and structuring, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Okay. Does someone else want to read this question out loud?
Sure. Zach asks, does any of your writing processes change when writing verse compared to writing prose, or do you approach the process the same?
Anyone can take it.
I mean, my process changes with different genres and different. So, like poetry, I definitely take me much longer than novel writing. Um, I have to really think through it and think each word. Whereas novel writing, I just write whatever's on there. Um, yeah.
So I would say I'm like the polar opposite. Like, when I write prose, it takes me a long time, and I generally write my poems pretty quickly. So like, when I write prose, I try to like write a little bit each day, and like I kind of like go through and I'm like trying to like work out a little bit of the story. And I'm not a plotter, so I kind of just go for it, and it takes a little bit of time. So different days are good, different days are bad, but kind of little by little. Whereas when I write a poem, it's usually because I like had a burst of inspiration from something, and I'll usually end up finishing it pretty quickly, or at least finishing most of it pretty quickly, and then going back to it a couple days later to kind of flesh it out and edit a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar. Like my writing is incredibly structured, especially where I am right now. It's just editing and re-editing and more re-editing. So it's very like structured. I have a certain amount of pages I want to get done a day, and I just go through it that, push on forward. But with poems, if there'll be even an experience, or I'll write down an idea, and if I'm feeling that idea that day, I'll just write it, and then I'll probably let it sit for 2 or 3 days and then come back to it. I feel like editing poetry takes me longer because I'll edit it one day and then 2 weeks later I'll see something else I want to add. So it's a very raw emotional kind of building process with poems. As with verse, you still have that, but since it's like, in my case, a whole book, it's not just little bursts of emotion. It's not just like this one big burst of emotion in a poem. It's like might be little places here and there, but really it's just about the structure of the whole book.
For me, I think that I'm kind of similar to them too. When an experience hits me, I'm in that moment and I want to write a poem and all those emotions come out. But then it obviously, like in that moment, all these imageries and everything, it's just based on what I want to convey. But then later on, I'll come back to it eventually. But sometimes on that day itself, I'll be like, oh, that's fine. That's enough for today. I'll come back to it eventually. But when it comes to short stories or writing a novel, it takes time because you're putting a plot and all the structures into place. Whereas a poem, it depends on the experience and moment and like what you want to try to convey.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say, I find that writing poems is a little more unnatural for me because naturally the way I go to write is I have an idea, a realization, or just struck by an emotion, and I just write everything down and then go back later and kind of turn it into something that kind of makes more sense to anyone who would read it. But with writing poetry, I find that it kind of has more of an algorithm in a way, kind of more that I have to think about, if that makes any sense. Like writing longer pieces, I just kind of write and then can kind of do whatever I want with it. And although there is some flexibility within poetry, I find that I also just have some trouble finding my voice in it sometimes. So that's just me personally, but
Yeah, I feel like kind of similar in a way because I think like my mind naturally goes to like fiction writing. But I've like recently been working more with poetry because I just sometimes like emotions hit me and I'm like I need to like write a poem right now and everything's kind of like disfigured and disjointed and like I just want to kind of like let my emotions run free and not like think about like forming a whole plot and I just want to like put everything down on a page. So yeah. Okay, I'm noticing the time. It's 8:30 and there's 4 people in the waiting room, so I was thinking maybe we could swap guests. If one person wants to stay, I can have a max of 6 at once. And yeah, since I'm like the moderator, I need to stay. But do 4 people want to switch? I feel bad like kicking people out.
I'm honestly okay.
What?
I'm okay with whatever needs to happen.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
Okay, I can
Um,
volunteer to swap out. I have to figure out how to leave though.
Okay.
Wait,
Okay,
can I
but-
rejoin in like the how do I watch?
Oh yeah. You can watch on like it's on YouTube. The link is like on my Instagram story.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll go find it.
Okay. Um okay, here I'll add.
I don't know how to work this streaming platform.
Hi.
Hi.
Alex!
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi. Nice to meet you finally.
Hi.
There are two
Can you
more
hear
people
me?
that have
Oh,
to
hi.
come in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how do we leave?
Here. Okay. Bye. Wait, Kimberly, are you still there? Cause okay, yeah. Okay. Do one of you guys want to leave, Lauren? Or do
I'm trying to leave. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Oh shoot. Hi. Okay. Hello everyone. Okay, sorry for that complications. So new group, does everyone want to introduce themselves to the stream?
Okay. I'll start. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Maria, and I'm the writer of Tear for Nobody in Collective Dust. It's a short story. I go by she, her. And yes, should I tell about me or about the short story?
Either or both is great.
Okay. So, well, my short story it's about a woman that has this superpower where she can implant fake memories into people when they drink her teas. So she finds herself in a date with her longtime crush, and she is seriously considering on using her powers and giving him the tea. So that's kind of the, without spoilers, the short story. And well, I'm from Argentina, and I am currently on the last stages of editing my first fantasy novel. So that's where I'm at right now, and it's like for me it's the most stressing part. I don't know if someone relates to that, but I hate editing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Alexandria, do you want to go next?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, hi, I'm Alexandria Johnson. I'm the writer of The Mysterious Knocker. It's about someone knocking on your door in the middle of the night, and you're thinking whether you should open it or maybe it's just a dream. That's basically the premise of the story. Um, and what else I'm supposed to say? Uh,
You could say like if you're working on some project right now or not.
right. Thanks. So I'm currently working on two different projects, but still one is in the back seat of the current projects I'm working on. I'm working on a novel in verse about a feather and a sprite. So that's basically it. Yeah.
Cool.
I still haven't worked on the pitch yet properly. So now it's just those two things. Okay. Next person, please.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Kimberly, do you wanna-
Hi, everybody.
I
I'm
can go
Kimberly.
next.
Oh, you want to go
Sorry.
next? Oh.
No, it's okay. You go next. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Kimberly. I wrote Soft Beginnings in the collection. Soft Beginnings is kind of a little, it's like a little, it's a flash fiction. It's about like waking up in the morning and like looking at your partner and just being happy that you're with them. And like all the emotions that come with that. I'm currently working on this like kind of fantasy, more like paranormal, almost like witch story. It's kind of a mix of a lot of genres. Right now, I'm kind of just having fun with it. Because this year, I kind of decided I was just gonna have fun with writing instead of trying to write for like a genre or for some like a certain crowd or something. I'm gonna write for myself and what I want to get out and just have fun with writing for once.
I love that. And Swan, do you wanna?
My name is Sowan Kim. I am 15 years old, and I am the author of the poem "Leaving Words on the Street" and "Collecting Dust." The poem is basically about what a writer feels about writing, because every writer writes a story with a purpose, not just because. And I think I wrote this poem to show how a writer feels when basically doing what they love, which is writing. And I go by the pronouns she/her. At the moment, I'm not working on anything else, but I am the author of A Gleaming Shard of Glass. Here, this is my novel, which I published. Thank you. 2 months ago. So it's been really recent. It's a really recent publication. So at the moment, I'm not working on anything else, but I am planning on writing a contemporary novel about racism, which I'm really excited for. And yeah, I'm really excited to be part of this anthology. I'm really honored. Thank you, Hudson, and thank you, everyone else.
Awesome. And Danny, do you want to should we begin?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm Danny. I go by she/her. I wrote the poem "Rays of Old" in the collection, and I'm currently working on a historical fiction enemies to lovers treasure hunt story set in turn of the century Galveston. So yeah, that's me.
And I'm Hudson. I edited the collection and wrote Ellipsis and Crestfallen, and I have my first book is Not the Air. It's a YA fantasy, and then this one is from January 2022. It's called Academy for the Gifted. It's a young adult thriller, and I'm currently working on a historical thriller that takes place in Versailles in 1670 in Louis XIV's court. It's like a fictionalized murder mystery account of the death of a real historical figure named Henrietta d'Angleterre, who historians still don't really know how she died. So I'm kind of using that as to write this cool fictional murder mystery from the perspective of a fictitious maid. So yeah, that's me. I was thinking we could maybe play the Writer Never Have I Ever edition, or we could talk about our pieces in the collection.
I'm cool with anything.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we could play the game. Do you guys have the document with the question?
I do.
Okay. Also, as always, if you're watching, feel free to drop questions in the chat. And also play along with the game in the chat pretty much. What the game is it's Never Have I Ever Writers Edition. So there's a list of writer things, and you start with 10 fingers, put a finger down if you've done it, and you're out when you lose all your fingers.
Okay.
Okay. Danny, do you want to start?
Sure. I'll just start from the list, and then it says if anyone wants to come up. Okay. Never have I ever killed a character based on someone in real life. I haven't actually. No. I haven't killed them. Have I based people on them? Maybe, but I haven't killed them. Not yet.
Okay. Written down dreams to use as plots of stories. Oh my god. Sophia was just saying that she that her story in the collection Getaway was from a dream, which is cool. I I feel like I've had little like images from my dreams that inspire me, but I haven't had like a fully fledged, like plotted out dream that I just like write down as a story. I don't know. Have you guys?
Yeah, the same for me. I mean, maybe like small details that, or maybe like places, that kind of stuff. But not like entire plots or anything like super big.
Yeah. Mhm.
For me, it's uh, I don't think I have written anything from a dream. Maybe I had like in the past when I was a kid, but now I don't really get vivid dreams unless it's romance. Then that's a different story. Yeah, then I'll just write some juicy stuff down and cast that aside and put it in my fantasy stories, maybe just for inspiration or something. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Also,
For me, I
if
have oh,
sorry.
no.
If people who are like listening, if you want to like play along in the comments, let us know like if you get figures down. Okay. Does someone want to go next?
I'll go next. Have never have I ever lost my work because I forgot to save it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the worst. That's really
Yeah.
Do you guys
For me,
use?
it's more like oh sorry. Do you want to
No,
continue?
you can go.
Okay. For me, it's like I didn't forget to save it, but my laptop crashed. Right. It wasn't even Google Docs. It was Word. So I couldn't save it, and it got lost forever.
No.
Yeah. But
That's horrible.
honestly,
I
I'm
know.
thankful because that was like when I was 10 years old. So my writing back then was horrible. So I'm honestly glad.
Funny.
Wow.
What like software do you guys use? Like, do you use Scrivener or Doc?
That's where I lost the work. So
Scrivener.
don't use Scrivener, please. That's how I lost it because Scrivener is like you have to like be super techie to understand Scrivener, and I am not. So right now, Microsoft Word, and I love it. Should have gone with that from the beginning.
See, I like
Yes.
I like use Google Docs usually, but I use Scrivener for Academy for the Gifted. But then I just like emailed it to myself every day in case I
Okay.
look at account. But like,
Oh, that's tedious, isn't it?
sorry.
It's tedious, isn't it, to send documents back and forth?
It is, but it just I get so nervous about losing it. So
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Better to be safe than sorry.
yeah.
Oh, I use Google Docs and Microsoft Word and Trello and Notion.
Nice.
Those are four, right? Four platforms, yeah. For different types of books, for different types of different sections of the book too. For dialogue, I like the static layout of Notion, so I mostly write on that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also use Docs and Microsoft Word, but yeah, that's all I
Yes.
use.
It's autosave. It's the coolest
Yeah.
thing. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love using Google Docs because I can bring it anywhere with me. So I write on my phone a lot, and then I also can write on my laptop, and I don't have to like send it to myself. It's just automatically there because it saves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Very true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, does someone want to play the next thing for the game?
Okay, I can read if it's okay. Cried while writing a scene.
Kind of.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, I feel like
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Cried while writing a scene. I am yeah, I'm very sensitive, so
Yes.
I cry when
Yes.
reading, when writing, anytime. So that's all time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, never have I ever started a novel that I didn't finish. I've done that like so many times. Like the amount of ideas that I have fully plotted out and started, and then I'm just like, no, I'm actually like not gonna. I'll save it for later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did that a lot in the
Yeah.
beginning. Oh no,
Sorry,
you're good.
sorry. No,
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 you're
it's
okay.
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 You go. Okay.
I did that a lot in the beginning, like before I started. But when I got the idea for the book I'm writing now, it was easy to kind of keep going.
Yeah, I feel like when you get an idea that you're just like so passionate about, that's how like the one that I'm writing right now, which is like the historical thriller. I just like feel so like emotionally attached to it that I know that it's like right for me to be writing it. You know, like I feel like other ideas I've had that I just like make a Pinterest board for, and I'm like, ooh, this is like so fun, but then it just kind of fades. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone can read the next one.
Never have I ever fallen asleep while writing.
Ooh.
Is it fall asleep?
Yeah.
Sleep while writing.
Yes, I feel
No.
like
No.
I write very late. I don't know if you guys do the same, but sometimes I am like in the mood for writing when it's like, I don't know, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So
Wow.
yeah. And I don't want to stop because it's like cutting off the flow. So I just feel like so excited, and well, sometimes it's like my eyes are shutting off, but I'm like, no. And then the next morning, I'm like, whoa, what did I just write? I mean, I don't remember writing it, so it's really weird for me.
That's funny. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think that's ever like happened. I mean, I like sometimes fall asleep while like reading, but like I don't think that's never. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Also, after this game, we'll probably close out, but like we could do a Q&A first. So if anyone like on here has any final questions, you can type them in like while we're like finishing this, and then we can answer them. But okay. So the next one.
I'll read this one. Changed a main character's name midway through a draft or in subsequent drafts. I'm at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Many times. Many times.
Yeah.
In Academy for the Gifted, like the main character's name is Bexley, and then the another like main character's name that I can't like it. Well, the victim's brother's name was Bentley. And so then like I really loved like both of those names. Like for some reason I like didn't like Bexley and Bentley I feel like are two like amazing names, but like they were too similar. So then I ended up changing Bentley to Brant like literally right before like after like 15 rounds of edits. Like right before the proofread. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, I've done that.
For me, when I was writing my novel, there was a pair of twins whose names were Ella and Emma, but their names were way too similar, so beta readers would complain saying that they would often get confused with the twins, so I had to change their names to Sienna and Juniper. And I also changed the main character's name. Right now it's Grecia, but it used to be Annalise. I changed it because I wasn't really happy with like the first name. I don't know, like Annalise sounded way too like an adult, if you get what I mean. It didn't really sound like a 12-year-old kid. So that's basically why I changed their name.
Yeah, I like those names though that you ended up with. Okay. Never have I ever written a story completely by hand. I haven't done that.
Oh my gosh.
I did like parts of it, but when I was younger, like before I like, you know, would use Google Docs, like realized I could, oh my gosh, I can actually type this. I used to think I have to write this out by hand and then I'll type it up. So did I ever finish these stories? No. So, but yeah, that was painful.
When I was a kid, I didn't really have Wi-Fi, so I couldn't always use Google Docs. I remember back in like 7th grade, I had to write we had a myth we're supposed to write. I read it all by hand, I edited it by hand, and I turned it in written by hand. I was like the only person in the class to do that, but I just didn't have like the Wi-Fi to be able to like have that doc go over. So and then I have a bunch of random story starts when I was a kid of like 3 or 4 handwritten pages of like just stories I wrote.
Yeah, I still like take notes. I feel like everyone has shifted to doing like notes for school on like their laptops or like iPads, but I'm like that girl that like does the really like annoying like
The highlighter titles. Yeah.
I do
In
that.
every class.
And I'm proud of it.
Mhm.
But yeah. But no, for writing, like I couldn't handle that. But yeah.
I know this indie author. I think lots of people know this author. Her name is Lauren
same.
Fulter. Lauren Fulter, and she, and from what I know, she like handwrites all her first drafts. And the thing is, her books are huge. They're super thick, but she handwrites all her first drafts. So I can't imagine how awful it must be.
Wow.
My hand would hurt so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hospital just said I used to have my hand. Yeah. Okay. Never have I ever used I'm writing as an excuse.
Wait, I'm at 6 now. Wait. Yeah.
I'm at 5.
I'm about to lose. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Probably. At least one.
Like, I don't want to go to the grocery store. I'm writing.
Yeah.
I have to write today, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Danny, do you want to say another one?
Yes. Never have I ever written between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. We've probably already answered this, but
We know
Yeah.
Maria.
I haven't.
Nope.
I'm a morning writer, so I'll get up at like 6 a.m.
Oh.
and start writing.
Yeah, I'm definitely a morning person also, but sometimes I'll get like I'll have like a dream and then like wake up in the middle of the night and then like jot something down. I don't know if that
Well, I'll
counts.
do that, but
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I really like to write later. I love being up late. I used to write when I was younger, like after midnight to about 3 a.m. But now I try to cut myself off at midnight, so I write from like 10 to midnight.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Does someone want to say one of the remaining ones? Or I can. Never have I ever yelled in all caps at myself while writing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
done that. No.
Mm-mm.
How do you not feel like the document is shouting at you if you write on all in caps?
That's the idea, I think.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like remember to write about this later because, you know,
yeah.
I don't know, I do
I-
that. Or I also add comments, you know, in Word
Yeah.
or in
Yeah. No.
So, but all in caps because I don't know. It just feels like, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like, there's like
I think
2
that's
more.
it.
Because we went like out of order. I think there's like 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you want to?
I think that one of them is never have I ever not researched anything before starting a story.
Yes,
I'm
me.
at 7.
I don't.
I guess like,
Mm-mm.
if you mean like a novel, then like no.
Yeah.
But if it's like a short story, then like definitely.
Mm.
So I'll just say
All,
I've done that.
all mediums for me.
Mhm.
All forms. I just rush it in. I don't have a plan, nothing. Just go in. Just go in and just write it. And after that, just during the editing stage, I will just go out there and research, even though it's too late, but still. Yeah.
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 Writing historical fiction, you can't really do that. Like, I think Hudson, you'll probably relate to this. The
Yeah.
amount, like, I started the idea kind of January of my freshman year of high school, and then I was doing, I don't know if that's me, like I did like 4 months of research. Like it just so much. And then as you like the drafts like went on, I would like they would like, get more and more. So yeah, but then before that, like it would just
Yeah. No, it's so I can relate to that. Like it's definitely genre dependent because like if you're writing a contemporary, like the world that you're living because
Yeah.
you've been researching it pretty much your whole life. But like with historical, like especially when it's I guess like
I think you have it harder than me because, I think because mine is like 1900, and actually I live about an hour and a half from the place I'm writing about, so I go there pretty much every weekend.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I'm really immersed in kind of the world, even though it's so different from what it was. But you like, I know you went to France, but you can't just like drive to France every day.
Like like I went to Versailles, like the chateau, like which is like the castle that it takes place in, which was like really cool. But like it's still so. I mean, I guess I was thinking like it's kind of a double-edged sword of like writing something in the 1900s compared to like the 1600s because 1900s it's like there's more information about it out there, but then like readers are also expecting you to like get every detail. But then like I guess if you're back in like the 1600s, there's some things that like people don't like know, so you've like some liberty, I guess, that like you don't need to get every detail, but then also it's like harder to learn about in some ways. So I guess both are like have their challenges.
So once I started writing a historical fiction novel about the Battle of Marathon. I knew like all the basics. Like when I started writing it, I was obsessed with ancient Greek history, and I knew the basics, but I didn't really do a lot of research about how daily life was in Greece during that time. So like, so I recently reread what I had written of the novel because I never finished it, and I could notice that I had done like no research at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember the drafts and I'm like, I kind of have a good understanding of how this goes. But I also write, I don't write like specific in like an area around the world. I write like historical fantasy, so it's in a world set around the world.
Got it.
Around on Earth, but it's not like on Earth in like not one of the empires. So it's my own empire. So I can pull in details of what I want and get things wrong in my own way because it's a fantasy world and give a little grace there.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the Savior series by Jenna Morrisseau. If you guys have read that.
Oh,
I haven't.
I love that book.
Yeah.
Well, the
'Cause it's,
series,
like-
I love it.
Yeah, because it's like takes inspiration from like cultures, but like she like makes her own. Yeah.
That's really cool. But I will say this researching is kind of fun because the amount of rabbit holes you just kind of go into. Like I had to learn like I've learned a lot of German from this research because one of my characters is German. So I just like go learning all these like German phrases and things like that. And what else? And my search history, because it's like a murder kind of thing, treasure hunt is questionable, but I promise. But yeah, it's tedious at times, but it's kind of fun because you get to see a lot of things that you didn't know before.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think that's like it for the game. I feel like I'm not out. I only had 5 down. Did anyone get out?
No, I had 7.
Oh wait, 6
I
now.
have 5 left.
I feel like this would have worked better if there were like more questions, but like
yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. I got them all from like this article that I found. So credit to Priscilla Bettis, her article. But yeah, I guess that's like it's almost 9. I was anticipating this to be like around an hour, so like I think do you guys want to end with like talking a little bit about your piece in the collection maybe just for a bit? And by the way, if you're watching, I have all of the links to Collecting Dust on Amazon, Goodreads, Book Depository, Barnes & Noble, in the description. So, yeah. But do the guests want to talk about their pieces just like a little bit before we go?
Yeah, should I start or I don't
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Yes, yes,
Sorry.
please
Okay.
do. Please do.
Okay. So I think I mentioned what's like about my
Mhm.
story was about, but I can talk about maybe a little about the
Like,
background or what I was, yeah, what I had in mind. I wrote this like 2 years ago, so I it's not like really fresh for me, but I remember as I always write, I'm very like a visual writer, so I like picture places or maybe characters doing like things, certain situations, and
mhm.
then that inspires me, and then I go into like a brainstorming of one, and I just write a lot of things. So I remember writing about this woman that lived in a house, and she had a lot of plants, and she was very like natural, and she liked brewing her teas. And then, as I am like a fantasy writer, I added the fantasy, and I said, okay, she's gonna have powers. And then I just think that, as in any short story, I wanted to like convey a message, and I kind of like thought about this romanticized idea of love that we all have from movies and stuff. So I just wanted this main character to have that in mind, to be like a hopeless romantic. And then I also wanted to make her a little controversial and ambiguous,
Mhm.
so like a little controlling. And well, her powers have a lot to do with that. So yeah, um,
Yeah.
that's kind of the backstory.
I loved how, like, there was, like, a morally gray element to it because, like, I couldn't decide if she's, like, a good person and, like, is trying, because like, she used it for, like, those good reasons, like, with her, like, mom and everything, but then, like
Yeah.
yeah, so I like how she's kind of, like, on the line between, like, good and bad and, like yeah.
Mm, thank
I can go next if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so my poem, Leaving Words in the Street, like I said before, it's about how a writer feels when writing, the purpose, like it talks about how writers always write with purpose. They never write without a reason. There's always a message that they want to spread, or at least in most cases. Um, and so, like, I wrote this poem during an English class. It was an assignment. We had to write a poem. And since I usually don't write poems, I'm more of a prose person. I had a bit of a tough time, but I do think that I really enjoyed the process, and I really like trying out new things. And yeah, it was really fun trying out something that wasn't prose. Um, and yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Oh, I can go next if you want. So my poem "Rays of Old" was kind of was in a series of poems that I did a while back, where I kind of picked a natural element and started personifying it and using imagery, but then letting a kind of theme develop as it went on, because I thought of what it like looked like literally, but then I thought of what it could be metaphorically. So for the sun, as she said, it was kind of like a beginning of a healing, kind of like a like a friend that this I've thought about how the sun always comes, it always rises in the morning. It doesn't not come back, kind of that thing. So metaphorically, that could be like a sense of like security that'll always be there. So I was trying to create a scene and create kind of a feeling with the poem.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh. Okay. For the mysterious knocker, I don't have any history of it. It all started with a title, just a title, The Mysterious Knocker. And I just penned the whole short story without thinking too much of the story. I just want it to fit the title, The Mysterious Knocker. Yeah, so that's it. And also put some humorous elements in it. You understand when you read the story, especially the ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah, just wanted it to be a fun story.
Yeah, I love like sometimes starting with titles is like great because like it like where sometimes I have the opposite problem where I have a story and I like can't think of a title to go with it, but like when you have your title first and it can like inspire a whole story, that
Yeah. Hmm.
can really
Yeah,
be
for me, I have a really, really hard time like titling anything, especially short stories. So when I wrote Soft Beginnings, I was like, I don't really know what the title is, so I just threw a title up there and it worked for it. And Soft Beginnings I wrote was the day of the submissions are due. I was kind of like, I should write one more thing, just one more thing. And I threw it together. I was like, oh, this is cute. And then I threw it, and I was like, oh, I can't believe you would pick that one out of all of them. Yeah, because you all have these stories like how you write for a class or whatever. I just kind of like, I was sitting down at like 11 p.m. one night, and I was like, what's right about waking up in the morning? It's such like a little snippet of like life that people can like just brief over. It's people tell you when you write stories not to start with a character waking up in the morning. And I was like, a whole little like story about that, just waking up and being happy to be alive and be next to your partner. It's a beautiful little thing in the morning. And just showcase that.
Yeah. I loved it because it was like I'd never seen something exactly like it, and like I think it also was about like what fit like with the collection. Like I don't remember exactly all the pieces submitted, but I remember liking all them, but trying to think of like where they would fit. But then when I got Soft Beginnings, I was like, yeah, that would be really nice with, I think it's right after Days of Old, and they're both about like sunlight, waking up. It's like a nice, not start because laundry before, but like a nice start to the like morning part because it's like hopeful and like setting the stage kind of. So yeah. But yeah, okay, I think that's all. We went a little bit over time. I'll just look at some of the final comments. I really love meeting all the authors and hearing about your work. I can't wait to read Collecting Dust again. I enjoyed this from Declan's piece. I can't wait to read the book soon. Thank you so much, Hudson. I'm really honored to be a part of this anthology. Thank you, Hospital.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone who came, and thank you to all of you on the screen and to the first group. I really appreciate it. I was nervous before this that like would show up and like how it would go, but yeah, so thank you so much, and links to Collecting Dust are if anyone has it next to you, then we can take a like screenshot of it. But
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
but,
Thank
yeah,
you so much, Hudson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hudson.
Thank you, Hudson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.